Mere moments ago, Buckingham Palace verified what global whispers have suggested for countless weeks. King Charles III has formally expelled Prince Andrew from royal succession rights. The declaration emerged from Clarence House, avoiding Buckingham's ceremonial balcony, yet the intention remained crystal clear, an ultimate irreversible demonstration of monarchical accountability. The symbolism couldn't prove more deliberate. Scarcely 9 days elapsed since Andrew publicly abandoned his royal designations on October 17th. An action characterized then as willing. However, confidants currently reveal it wasn't voluntary whatsoever. And merely 2 days earlier, Charles, gaunt yet determined, stood alongside President Wimir Zalinski at Windsor Castle, clasping hands demonstrating international solidarity. Few comprehend that beneath that diplomatic expression, the sovereign was orchestrating the most intimate determination of his governance. According to the Palace Declaration issued this morning, His Majesty has authorized official modifications to succession protocols reflecting present realities. No identities were specified, but the exclusion resonated powerfully. Prince Andrew, previously the Queen's cherished son, disappeared from the registry completely. At Clarence House, officials characterized the environment as grave yet conclusive. Queen Camilla purportedly endorsed the action, deeming it essential for crown legitimacy. Prince William, though publicly reserved, allegedly informed assistants privately, "The moment has arrived to establish boundaries." Even Princess Anne, the steadfast embodiment of protocol, concurred that the institution cannot transport spectres into subsequent eras. For Andrew, this represents the ultimate conclusion. Previously a distinguished naval commander, subsequently a dishonored duke, currently a figure without designations, without status, and without position in royal destiny. But this transcends mere familial determination. It constitutes a governmental upheaval, rattling the monarchy's fundamental structures themselves. Remain here because subsequent developments inside Clarence House tonight will demonstrate whether this signifies crown restoration or commencement of another royal confrontation. To comprehend how Britain reached this remarkable junction, we must examine the preceding turbulent year, a gradual, agonizing dissolution that has now culminated with Prince Andrew's complete elimination from royal succession. It commenced in early 2025, when intelligence emerged of intensified pressure on the sovereign to address unresolved matters from previous decade scandals. Despite public weariness, Andrew's presence still cast substantial darkness over the monarchy. His connections to the deceased financier Jeffrey Epstein, though legally resolved, remained a moral blemish on royal perception. Behind palace barriers, assistants discreetly labeled him as the persistent predicament. King Charles, already confronting illness and overwhelmed by constitutional obligations, had attempted diplomacy initially. In April 2025, he convened privately with his sibling at Balmoral, attempting to persuade him to surrender the Duke of York designation gracefully. Andrew declined. He contended that kinship precedes formality, maintaining his crown service had been faithful, even if his standing had not. For Charles, that encounter validated what many in the household already understood. Reconciliation was unattainable. By summer, conflicts intensified around Royal Lodge, the extensive Windsor property Andrew still inhabited. The sovereign reportedly proposed financial support for relocation to a smaller Scottish estate, but Andrew resisted, invoking legal occupancy protections. The impasse became public, nourishing tabloids for weeks. One headline from the Daily Mail captured it perfectly: "The Prince Who Wouldn't Depart." Then on October 17th came the unexpected declaration. Andrew had willingly relinquished his royal designations. Many believed this was the sovereign's resolution, a subtle conclusion to a complicated chapter, but sources currently verify that the willing relinquishment was actually the initial phase in a structured plan to eliminate him completely from the crown's bloodline. That plan was completed at Clarence House only days subsequently. And when the sovereign stood alongside President Zalinski on October 24th, his demeanor concealed a determination that would restructure royal responsibility in the contemporary age. Behind Windsor's magnificence, the sovereign had determined to conclude his siblings' narrative not with controversy, but with quietude. The monarchy, he concluded, could only endure if it ultimately severed connections with its most problematic prince. The initial rumors that something remarkable was transpiring began in mid-October. days before the public declaration when royal life's patterns suddenly transformed. Officials observed a behavioral shift during Clarence House gatherings. Entrances sealed more frequently, conversations reduced to whispers, and documents were designated absolutely private. Even among experienced palace personnel, there existed a perception that something significant, perhaps irreversible, was being arranged. At that quietude's center was Prince Andrew. After years of disgrace, he had grown accustomed to being disregarded. But currently, even the disinterest had become frigid. Family dinner invitations ceased arriving. His communications to senior assistants went ignored, and the remainder of his official protection privileges were discreetly revoked. It resembled the barriers themselves were contracting. One palace confidant informed the Times, "What nobody outside a restricted circle of the sovereign's councillors knew was that a structured document was already proceeding, a legal amendment to the royal succession hierarchy. For the initial time in more than 70 years, a living royal family member was to be permanently excluded by sovereign command." The rationale, drafted in refined constitutional terminology, referenced the integrity and moral expectations of the Crown. Andrew, nevertheless, anticipated what was approaching. His private administrator resigned suddenly in mid-October, citing ethical disagreements. Within days, the press discovered unusual activity around Royal Lodge, Andrew's Windsor property. Messengers were observed delivering secured envelopes. Legal groups arrived inconspicuously by evening. Speculation circulated that he had been served with an official notification, a correspondence signed personally by the sovereign. By the morning of October 17th, the palace released what was characterized as a willing relinquishment of designations. But the declaration's tone, emotionless, procedural, suggested differently. The Duke of York was eliminated in title, but the monarchy had not yet established the ultimate boundary. Inside Clarence House, the sovereign reportedly informed Queen Camilla, "We cannot purify the glass while abandoning the grime behind." That same weekend, Sarah Ferguson, Andrew's former wife, was observed departing their mutual residence with luggage in hand. Her representative characterized the departure as provisional, but confidants said she was enraged. She anticipated they'd compel him to diminish quietly, not eliminate him, said a source near Fergie. In private, she began contacting US media connections, a suggestion that she might again utilize the press as her instrument. Meanwhile, Andrew approached his daughters. Princess Beatrice was devastated, beseeching Prince William for an appointment with the sovereign. "He remains your sibling," she reportedly stated. "Don't allow him disappear like this." But William's reaction, though understanding, was resolute. "We all must safeguard the crown now," he informed her, according to palace disclosures, "even from ourselves." By October 22nd, Andrew's seclusion was absolute. His personal protectors were reassigned, his office communication was deactivated, and his identity discreetly disappeared from official royal correspondence. The Royal UK website, previously listing him as His Royal Highness the Duke of York, now simply displayed Prince Andrew. No designations, no responsibilities, no future. When King Charles encountered President Wimir Zalinski 2 days subsequently on October 24th, the world witnessed a sovereign executing his obligation amid weakness. But for those who understood the reality, that handshake wasn't merely diplomacy, it was representation. Behind the tranquil exterior, the sovereign had already executed his most intimate act of assessment. The photograph of the two figures, one a wartime commander, the other an exhausted sovereign, would come to symbolize the duality of Charles's governance: compassion in public, determination in private. By the time sunrise emerged on October 26th, the apparatus of royal transformation was finished. The official notification removing Andrew's identity from succession was secured, authorized by the Privy Council, and prepared for distribution. The monarchy, which had endured wars, separations, and abdications, was now about to accomplish something it had never accomplished before: sever away its own lineage in the designation of survival. At Clarence House, the environment on the evening of October 25th, 2025, was unlike anything royal assistants had experienced in decades. The illumination in the sovereign's private chamber burned long past midnight, and the subtle sound of pen on paper resonated through the passages. King Charles, gaunt and visibly depleted, was personally examining the ultimate phrasing of the declaration that would officially eliminate Prince Andrew from the royal succession hierarchy. It wasn't the act itself that disturbed him. The moral determination had been executed weeks ago. It was the significance of the heritage. How would history recall this junction? Would it perceive him as a transformer restoring integrity to the crown, or as a sibling who abandoned his own flesh and blood? Queen Camilla, consistently the tranquility amid the turbulence, entered quietly with a beverage. "It must be accomplished," she stated softly. "For the establishment, for William, for the future." Charles glanced up, his voice fracturing just slightly. "It's not the accomplishing that pains," he whispered. "It's the quietude afterward." Meanwhile, outside the palace barriers, the world was already theorizing. The Times reported that a royal reorganization of unprecedented magnitude was approaching. BBC News had cleared its Sunday programming. CNN and Sky dispatched crews to Windsor. Across social platforms, hashtags like number conclusion of the Yorks and number royal succession upheaval began trending internationally. People argued whether the sovereign's determination was an act of fairness or harshness, whether Andrew merited restoration or banishment. Inside the palace, Prince William assumed command of the arrangements. He was the one who would ultimately present the declaration to the public, a responsibility that burdened heavily on him. "It seems incorrect," he informed one assistant, "but it also seems mandatory." William had developed admiring his uncle Andrew, had previously instructed him to operate horses and play polo, but the controversies had transformed everything. He recognized that if the monarchy was to endure his generation, the corruption had to be severed away, regardless how profound. In another section of London, Sarah Ferguson was organizing her own counteraction. Sources near her verified she was negotiating a new television conversation in the United States, where she intended to illuminate Andrew's circumstances. One confidant characterized her disposition as enraged, deceived but calculating. Fergie believed she could manipulate the account, transforming the decline of Andrew into a narrative of individual restoration, even if it meant revealing the palace's private transactions. By late afternoon, a private memorandum from the Royal Communications Group completed the distribution strategy. At 10 a.m. the subsequent day, October 26th, the declaration would be distributed to the press and the royal website concurrently. The family was notified through private mechanisms that no additional commentary would be provided afterward. It would be rapid, complete, and permanent. Even as arrangements developed, the vibrations were already penetrating the external layers of the royal community. Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugénie were alleged to be devastated. Associates of the York sisters informed the Telegraph that Beatrice spent the evening in anguish, while Eugénie declined all interaction with journalists. Their existence, already precarious after years of controversy, was disintegrating again. They forfeited their designations long ago, family associate observed, but currently they've forfeited their father's position in history. As darkness descended over Windsor, storm formations rolled in the variety of contemplative English precipitation that seemed created for royal catastrophe. The bells of St. George's Chapel resonated softly, as if reflecting the inevitability of what was to arrive. Across Britain, establishments buzzed with dialogue. Some celebrated the sovereign's bravery, others mourned his severity. "He's accomplishing what the Queen never could," stated one customer in Manchester. "But at what expense?" questioned another. "And here's something I'd appreciate to discover from you observing right now. Do you believe the sovereign was justified to ultimately eliminate Andrew? Or has the monarchy proceeded too extensively in severing off its own lineage? Inform me in the remarks where you're observing from, London, Toronto, Sydney, or somewhere else in the world. It's intriguing to perceive how each nation views this royal upheaval differently." Back inside Clarence House, as the sovereign prepared to retire, he transferred the authorized document to his private administrator and stated only, "Tomorrow the crown commences again." His voice wavered, but his hand did not. The directive had been secured. The House of York, previously among the proudest divisions of Britain's royal family, would awaken the subsequent morning eliminated from destiny itself. At precisely 10 a.m. on October 26th, 2025, the world paused for 1 minute and 32 seconds. That was how extended the official royal declaration lasted: concise, frigid, and completely ultimate. Standing at a refined oak platform in the courtyard of Clarence House, Prince William materialized before the cameras, his face gaunt but collected. His Majesty the King has authorized constitutional modifications to the royal succession hierarchy, guaranteeing it represents the principles and obligations anticipated of the Crown. His Majesty extends his appreciation to the public for their persistent endorsement and comprehension. That was it. No identities, no designations, but within moments, the world recognized who the absent identity was. Prince Andrew, the Queen's second son, had been eliminated not by controversy, not by death, but by command. The royal family's official website updated almost immediately, the digital genealogy reorganizing itself like a strategy board. The identity Prince Andrew, Duke of York, disappeared from the official succession diagram. In its position, nothing. A pure separation in history. The declaration struck like a lightning bolt. BBC News interrupted broadcasting, displaying the headline in black and gold. King Charles verifies Prince Andrew's elimination. The Guardian termed it an act of compassion disguised as monarchy. Meanwhile, American channels CNN and NBC labeled it the ultimate banishment. In France, Léon displayed a single phrase beneath a somber portrait of Charles: "Un roi dans la vie," a sovereign who severs to restore. Inside the palace, the quietude after the transmission was overwhelming. For the initial time in years, there was no uncertainty, just the significance of an irreversible determination. Queen Camilla sat alongside Charles, who listened to William's voice through the television. He acknowledged once when the address concluded. He presented it with legitimacy, she stated. Charles replied softly, he had to. At Royal Lodge, the reaction was far less collected. According to residents, Andrew received the intelligence while consuming breakfast alone. When the declaration broadcast, he reportedly stood, observed at the television, and whispered, "So that's it then." Within the hour, photographers captured glimpses of his vehicle, departing the estate destination undisclosed. By afternoon, royal confidants verified he had withdrawn to Castle of May, a windswept condition in northern Scotland previously favoured by his mother. It's voluntary banishment, one assistant stated. No directives, no guidelines, just disappearance. Across the country, public sentiment divided in two. Outside Buckingham Palace, masses gathered spontaneously. Some brought Union Jack banners and performed God Save the King in endorsement. Others carried placards reading, "Forgive Andrew, not forget." Older inhabitants who remembered the controversies of the 1990s perceived this as long overdue fairness. Younger voices online argued whether the monarchy was eliminating its past or removing its compassion. The intelligence rippled far beyond Britain. In Washington, President Donald Trump informed journalists, "It's a powerful action. You've got to acknowledge a commander who eliminates the corruption." Prime Minister Keir Starmer released a cautious declaration. The monarchy remains a foundation of persistence, and today's determination reinforces its dedication to integrity. Yet amid the governmental praise, the emotional consequences was enormous. Princess Beatrice was observed departing her London residence in anguish, grasping her husband's arm. Princess Eugenie remained quiet, declining all media interaction. They forfeited their father twice. One associate stated, "First to controversy, currently to history." Even Sarah Ferguson, no stranger to transformation, struggled to manipulate the narrative. Her group distributed a concise post on her social platform. Family is family, regardless what. Behind the scenes, nevertheless, she reportedly contacted American producers about a televised exclusive to inform her perspective. As the disturbance settled, Clarence House released one ultimate phrase to the press. His Majesty believes the future of the monarchy must depend on contribution, not controversy. Those phrases, though constructed by counsellors, carried the sovereign's unmistakable voice, exhausted, principled, but determined. Later that evening, as the autumn sun diminished over Windsor's horizon, Prince William returned to Adelaide Cottage. He was encountered by Princess Catherine, who opened the entrance in quietude. "It's accomplished," he stated simply. She acknowledged, tears glistening in her eyes. Outside, the church bells commenced to resonate, not for grieving, but for termination. The House of York had collapsed, and though the monarchy had endured another turbulence, the resonance of that morning would persist for generations, the sound of a crown selecting obligation over lineage. The day after Prince William's declaration, Britain awakened to a peculiar tranquility, the variety of quiet that pursues a lightning bolt. The precipitation had ceased, yet the atmosphere felt substantial, as though the nation itself was releasing after a century's worth of constraint. Newspapers across the country displayed the same headline. The sovereign severs his sibling loose. Beneath it, an image of Charles in silhouette, eyes remote, like a figure who had compensated a moral obligation too extended deferred. At Windsor, the sovereign spent most of the morning in contemplation. Assistants characterized him as peaceful, if subdued. He examined through correspondences from inhabitants, hundreds of them, most conveying understanding, some anger. One notation written in cautious cursive from an elderly woman in Edinburgh stood out. "Your Majesty, it must pain to accomplish what is just, but we stand with you even in anguish." Charles reportedly folded the correspondence, positioned it on his desk, and stated quietly, "Then it was worthwhile." The palace itself was functioning at complete capacity. The communications office synchronized with the Cabinet Office and Downing Street to guarantee every constitutional specification was accurate. There would be no uncertainty this time, no pathway for Prince Andrew to ever return. Prime Minister Keir Starmer praised the precision and bravery of the determination, terming it the commencement of a new chapter in accountable monarchy. Across the Atlantic, President Donald Trump reflected the sentiment in his own direct way. A powerful action by a powerful sovereign, but inside the royal family, the disposition was anything but victorious. Queen Camilla maintained her collection in public, but those near to her stated she was profoundly disturbed by the pressure on the sovereign's wellness. This determination extracted more out of him than anyone comprehends. One courtier informed The Guardian, "It was fairness, yes, but it was also devastation." Meanwhile, Princess Beatrice and Princess Eugenie withdrew from public existence completely. Sources stated they were devastated but obedient, reluctant to contest their grandfather's power. One account claimed Beatrice composed her father a correspondence promising to restore respect to the family identity someday. Whether Andrew ever examined it remains undisclosed. And what of Prince Andrew himself? His location, as consistently, were a combination of reality and legend. Some tabloids claimed he had escaped to Scotland, pursuing sanctuary at Castle of May, the windswept northern sanctuary previously beloved by his mother, Queen Elizabeth II. Others proposed he was still at Royal Lodge, surrounded by personnel but rarely materializing. The only verified observation came from a local postman who informed journalists he appeared older than I remembered, leaner, quieter, like someone who ultimately comprehended the world had ceased waiting for him. As for Sarah Ferguson, she wasted no time reclaiming the attention. Within 48 hours of the sovereign's declaration, her representatives verified she was in negotiations with a major US network for a televised conversation. An expose promising the reality behind the determination. Palace assistants predictably rolled their eyes. "It's the same strategy," one stated. "Every time the York identity burns, she attempts to distribute the remains." Public reaction remained separated. Polls conducted that week demonstrated 74% of Britons endorsed the sovereign's determination. Yet nearly half also conveyed compassion for Andrew as a fractured figure. Social media represented the division. One post went popular for stating, "Charles preserved the crown but forfeited a sibling." Another countered, "He didn't forfeit him. Andrew forfeited himself." In the passages of Clarence House, existence moved on gradually, cautiously. The official portrait of the royal hierarchy, which previously featured Andrew near the center, was quietly substituted with a newer version. Charles, Camilla, William, Catherine, and their children. The future of the monarchy, now streamlined and immaculate, gleamed from its golden frame, yet behind that image of restoration lay an unspoken reality. The monarchy had endured by severing off one of its own. And though the blemish was eliminated from the crown, a darkness still persisted over the family's heart. And as the bells of Westminster informed that evening, resonating across London's grey skyline, it seemed as if Britain itself was murmuring goodbye, not just to a prince, but to an entire chapter of royal history. As twilight settled over Britain on October 26, 2025, the kingdom that had previously whispered behind sealed entrances ultimately stood in the open. The determination was finished. Prince Andrew, the figure who had previously stood just a heartbeat from the throne, currently found himself eliminated from its very darkness. For the monarchy, this was more than a corrective act. It was a confrontation. The image of King Charles that night, exhausted but steadfast, will one day be examined in history volumes. His governance, though brief and overwhelmed by illness, has already been characterized by a single reality. He selected obligation over lineage, and in accomplishing so, he restructured what faithfulness to the crown truly signifies. Across the world, headlines framed the junction as both catastrophic and revolutionary. The Guardian termed it the sovereign's agonizing act of cleansing. The Washington Post characterized it as a reminder that heritage is acquired, not inherited. Even Léon in France, a country that abolished its monarchy long ago, composed admiringly, "A sovereign who severs to restore." But behind the magnificence of those editorials lies something far more human, an instruction about accountability and outcome. Andrew's decline wasn't written in a day. It was the gradual deterioration of trustworthiness, the refusal to confront one's past, the conviction that privilege could outlast responsibility. In the conclusion, it couldn't. From my own viewpoint, this junction seems like a reflection for the times we inhabit. Power in any configuration, royal, governmental, or individual, signifies nothing without integrity. And the monarchy, for all its ceremony and exhibition, remains at its strongest when it recalls that its purpose is not to govern, but to contribute. King Charles, in eliminating his sibling, didn't just safeguard the establishment. He reminded the world that even royalty must surrender before principle. Still, it's impossible not to experience the human ache behind it all. Imagine a sibling authorizing the directive that eliminates his own sibling from history. A father examining the documents recognizing his daughters are grieving their public disgrace. There's catastrophe in that, not just royal, but profoundly universal. Because in families everywhere, we acknowledge the same agonizing reality. Sometimes affection can't reverse what obligation demands. In that sense, the monarchy's narrative is our narrative magnified, dramatized but still agonizingly real. It's about heritage, restoration, and the expense of quietude. Perhaps Andrew's banishment, severe as it seems, serves as a reminder that no identity, no bloodline can forever safeguard someone from the outcomes of their actions. And maybe for a monarchy battling to stay applicable in a world that's outgrown fairy tales, this act was mandatory to demonstrate that even crowns are responsible. As one commentator on BBC articulated it last night, King Charles may have preserved the monarchy, but he accomplished so with a fractured heart. That quote persists, doesn't it? Because it's the contradiction that characterizes modern royalty: obligation preserved, compassion wounded. And as for the future, all eyes currently approach to Prince William, the figure who presented his father's command, and in accomplishing so, took one phase closer to the throne. He's the representation of persistence, but also of transformation, a new variety of royal leadership that must equilibrium tradition with clarity, elegance with determination. The question is, can he maintain together what his father has reorganized? Before we terminate, I'd appreciate to receive what you think. Was King Charles justified to execute this determination, or was it too harsh, a punishment that exchanged compassion for management? Inform me in the remarks below and let me recognize which country or city you're observing from, because royal history doesn't just belong to Britain anymore. It belongs to the world that observes it develop. If this narrative moved you, don't forget to appreciate this video, distribute your thoughts in the remarks, and subscribe for more powerful royal narratives that proceed beyond the headlines. Narratives that combine reality, catastrophe, and transformation inside the world's oldest living monarchy. Because regardless how substantial the crown, one reality consistently persists. In the conclusion, it's not the designations we carry that characterize us. It's the selection